Show is sponsored by HiveMind CRM. It is more than just a CRM. It is a real estate and business mastermind that comes with an all-in-one CRM. You can have unlimited websites and users. You can call, text, RVM, and email all in one user interface. And you can set up custom automations for any type and multiple businesses. 65% of companies start using a CRM system within the first 5 years of business. Once implemented, the HiveMind will save you on marketing, give you more time, and make more money. One of our users had his first $100,000 month using our system in June. We want to see you automate and accelerate your business. Text us at 210-972-1842 for future meetings and, of course, to get our $1 course on how to make more than 6 figures on one land deal. You can schedule your free demo today at hivemindcrm.io.
Hey, we're here with Joe Rotella out of Nashville, Tennessee. We're going to talk about crypto and some business stuff and some just finding your passion stuff. I think it's pretty interesting. We're gonna have a conversation about that. But Joseph, tell us a little bit about where you're from, what you do, what your passions are, and how'd you end up doing podcasts? That's crazy.
Sure. Thanks. And Daniel, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. I'm born and raised in Chicago. First 27 years of my life, moved to Phoenix, stayed there for about 4 years, and then wound up in Nashville. I've been out here about 10 years now. I do music stuff all my life, just passion of mine. So it brought me to Nashville. With music brought audio. So I got into doing audio stuff, things like that, recording my own music, and it opened up a whole new world for me, which then led into podcasting and learning how to do all that and all the aspects of it. And in came crypto. Back in like 2016, 2017, heard this thing about Bitcoin, back when the financial crisis happened in 2009, but I don't know what it was. So I waited a few years, 2016 hit, I was going through a divorce. And I was starting to branch out a little bit with my thinking process and triggered into crypto again. And so Bitcoin was at $900 and I was like, whatever, I'm just going to throw some money at it. What's the worst they can do? And I learned a little bit about it because I got the Electrum wallet, which is a hot storage that you keep on your desktop. So, which we could get into a little bit of it for beginners, but I kept it in this Electrum wallet on my desktop, had it there for a year and met a good friend of mine now. He's one of my best friends and he was really into crypto and started dialoguing back and forth about it. And it just opened up and triggered my mind to being like, what is this thing? And it made me have to take a different perspective of what's the big deal about this crypto thing. And it's extremely intense to understand it all because there's complexity to it that is difficult. But if you can narrow it down and digest it a little bit easier, then that makes it much, much more easier to digest. Well, that got me started down with knowing how to do podcasts. I started the Crypto 101 podcast, which is what I wanted to teach people. I don't make any money off of it. And it's basically I had friends and family asking about stuff. And I'm like, I know most of this stuff. So why don't I just put it down, but in small segmented episodes. So they're 8 to 10 minute episodes because I don't want to overwhelm people because the minute you start overwhelming people with information, they shut down. They don't want to hear it, at least in my perspective of the average person. So I started this podcast to teach people that you don't have to like it, but it's here and you better learn about it because this is where the industry is going. And a lot of people, especially in America, are stubborn to it. And the older generation, especially because they're so used to it. But that's kind of, sorry, I know that was long-winded, but that's kind of my overall, and I have a multimedia background with graphic design, video editing stuff. So all that encompassed with putting it into the podcast and just kind of creating it. And it's branched out and it's allowed me to network with people like you and other podcasters who are interested in this and want detailed information from the bot. You can get analysts telling you all this random stuff. And it's you have to dumb it down and not in a negative way, just allow people to process it so that it does become more of a larger picture for them, if that makes sense. So
it's I had a podcast with somebody yesterday that says that you have to make it make sense in plain English versus in your language of crypto.
Yes, exactly. That is exactly it. Yes.
Because most people don't speak the language till they've been in it for a little bit, so you kind of have to like break it down. So
Exactly.
let's talk about crypto. Why people see value in it between fiat and cryptocurrency? Like, what's the difference?
Sure. So fiat currency, like your regular dollar bills, are centralized. They're centralized with the Federal Reserve and the Treasury. If you're in the United States, so that's a central government entity that says we are the ones that are going to distribute and monitor and keep all financial whatever it is. And for those that don't know, the Federal Reserve is a private bank. We don't know who actually technically owns the Federal Reserve. There's, people that are in control of it that we don't know. So Satoshi Nakamoto, who is the Bitcoin creator, we don't know if that's a person or a group of people because they've been anonymous since the beginning. But they found basically when the financial crash happened in 2008, 2009, they didn't want a centralized government anymore controlling the system itself. So they saw Bitcoin as a way of allowing this to be decentralized, which is where we get into crypto as a decentralized currency. That basically means there is no central point for anybody to hack, so to speak. So like the Federal Reserve gets attacked all the time with cyber attacks, trying for the financial stuff. And there's been a few that have been successful. The decentralization of it so cryptocurrency allows every user that uses, we're just going to use Bitcoin because it's the easiest one to understand. It's a decentralized network, as in there is no central point. It's all connected with anybody that's connected to Bitcoin's blockchain. So like I have Bitcoin, my buddy over in downtown Nashville has it. People across the world have it. So all of those make up a decentralized ledger, basically, in a way. And we all hold a key that is pretty much unhackable. You have to hack 51% of the network instead of just one entity. They would have to hack 51% of the users that are using Bitcoin. And the more users that pile in, that's the more nodes that are overall encrypting the blockchain from being hacked.
So it's power in numbers.
Power in numbers, exactly. And there is no entity that is in control of it. So basically, they can change it's called the white paper. The white paper is basically any diagram, a description of what the cryptocurrency is what it stands for, basically. Like every coin has that, and Bitcoin started that. And in that white paper, they'll tell you specifically what it entails. And that includes with blockchain that has protocols. Now, protocols have to go on what we call consensus with the network. Consensus means all those nodes or all those users have to agree and come to a consensus that something can be done, or a transaction is viable, or they have to verify information for it to go through. And that's kind of the underlying thing with crypto is it's a decentralized network. It makes everybody have to work together in it. There's no central entity that can say, we're going to fund this thing, but we're not going to fund this thing, because that's not how it works. It's not it doesn't allow that, which makes it really cool. Sorry, I didn't mean to, but that's what makes it really cool. So
yeah, the checks and balances of it is that make sure nothing can be manipulated. Because I think it's one of the biggest things about the Fed is everybody, there's the head of the Fed manipulates the currency for the interest rates and all this stuff, and everything goes into it. Nobody can manipulate the crypto space.
Yes,
it's not its own separate thing. If somebody wanted to buy crypto, what is the least passive resistance? Because I delved a little bit into crypto a year or two, probably 2 years ago, and I was doing it, and I'm like, it was taking too much of my time, so I kind of backed off a little bit.
Sure.
But what's the easiest path of resistance if somebody want to buy Bitcoin?
Sure. So initially, you do have to have a wallet. It's a digital wallet, which basically means it allows you to store crypto on whether there's hot storage and cold storage. Hot storage means it's connected to the internet, so it's either on your desktop or it's a USB stick that stays connected to your computer. Cold storage I have cold storage. All my friends that are in crypto have cold storage. It basically means you stick it in, you download the crypto and then you pull it off and you keep it in like a safe or something so that it can't be removed or anything like that. Reason I'm saying that is how you get it is you have to have a wallet. And then, so like you use a coin exchange. That's kind of the simplest way of getting it. So like, and I'm going to get probably major hate for this because so many people hate Coinbase, but for new users, Coinbase is one of the easiest ones to use until you get familiar with it. And then there's Binance, Kraken, there's all these other coin exchanges that are probably better than Coinbase. But if you're starting off, the interface is really easy to use. It's easy to navigate. So I always suggest that just because it's the easiest one to get started with, in my opinion.
It's the Robinhood of crypto.
Yes. I hate Robinhood for crypto. But anyway.
I know, but the Robinhood is like the entry point for people to get
it allows people to have more access to it in an easier way. It's an easy platform to navigate for newbies to get into. So you go to a coin exchange. It's going to ask you to like for certain information about you. It's going to ask for an ATM card or a debit card, credit card, because you basically have to purchase crypto from a coin exchange. You have to transfer some type of currency. Now you could trade, if you have like Ripple or Ethereum, you can trade that for a Bitcoin or for a certain portion of Bitcoin. You can take US dollars from your debit card and transfer that through the coin exchange, and it'll give you whatever type of coin. I forget how many coins are on Coinbase, but right now, like in terms of the overall cryptocurrency market, there's thousands of coins right now. Like, so you could possibly, there's so many to go through. So that's the easiest way of doing it, is going through a coin exchange, putting in your information, and then getting the coin off of there and bringing it off. Another way of doing it, let's say you and I both have cryptocurrency. Or you decided to buy a wallet, I have Bitcoin, and you're like, I'll tell you what, send me cryptocurrency, but we know each other, so you're going to just give me the $20 and say, here, give me $20 in Bitcoin. I can still send you that through our digital wallets, all via the internet. And that's another way of getting cryptocurrency. It's a peer-to-peer transaction. That's the beautiful part of decentralization. Yeah. There is no middleman to this. There's no central bank. There's no bank. I am the bank, you are the bank. We hold our money in our wallet, and we are the ones that transfer those funds without any middleman between us. And that's
I like that because like everybody is trying to collect that middleman fee. PayPal,
yes.
The banks, wire transfer, like everybody's trying to collect that middleman fee, no matter how minimal it may seem. But they do it for thousands of people. And like the crypto totally cuts that out. One thing I know I didn't understand this. The reason I asked this because I didn't understand this when I first started is that I had Coinbase when I first started, and I bought stuff on Coinbase. And like, oh, you need to transfer that to your wallet because I always kept it straight on the exchange. What's the importance of keeping it in a wallet versus on the exchange itself, like Binance or Coinbase or anything like that?
Sure. So you'll hear people say, basically, you can keep it on a coin exchange. Like I don't buy other coins. I kind of do this. Like Coinbase has a really cool thing where you can just earn coins if you want to like learn about them. So I'll learn about coins, and you earn free coins as you learn about them. So I keep some, like their small portion amount where I'm like, I'm just going to trade these into Bitcoin and then pull them off. The reason you should pull them off of a coin exchange, if you have a significant amount on there, because the coin exchange can get hacked. That's totally different than the blockchain getting hacked. That's where a lot of people are like, well, Coinbase got hacked and $30 million worth of cryptocurrency was gone. So therefore the coin exchange is totally different than an individual, than the blockchain itself. They think that the coin exchange is the blockchain. It's not. So most people, this is like the big slogan in cryptocurrency: not your keys, not your coin. So you want to keep your encryption keys off the exchanges, because if that exchange can get hacked, your cryptocurrency can go with it, because you're keeping it in a hot storage wallet that's connected to the internet. And those coin exchanges are not as secure as people think. They're just like basic websites as everybody else. Now they have certain security, but I would not keep my coins on an exchange once I get them. I would transfer them off and keep them, especially if you're holding larger portions of it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. You want
But
to put
it's
it in a safe versus keep it in your wallet.
yes, exactly. And you can still, and those cold wallets, like my wallet, I can take it to a store, like, and still use it for like transferring funds and stuff like that. So it's not like it doesn't, like, you can still use that wallet to act like to trade trade cryptocurrency and stuff like that. So
yeah, the exchange is just changing fiat or other currencies to whatever currency you want. Essentially,
bingo.
it's literally exchange. Whereas your wallet is, you can still do peer to peer, but it's just like your wallet on your person. You can still buy and still trade virtually. This is the beginning, and I think we talked about it earlier, is that it's important to learn about this stuff right now because this is the future. This is the future of everything. So let's talk about like I said, I'm not into it, but I pay attention because, like I said, it's my job to pay attention. I don't want to get left behind, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's talk about the Fed starting their own cryptocurrency. What does that mean in the crypto space? It's just another way to manipulate it in their own way, or?
So the Fed makes me laugh about this. I did one of my most recent podcasts was about this because I got some questions about it. So there's a difference between digital coins and cryptocurrency. So like China's already made a digital coin, but it's centralized. It's based around the central bank of China, which the United States, the government's saying they're going to create a cryptocurrency. They can't, because cryptocurrency is decentralized. So the Federal Reserve coming out and saying, we're doing a digital coin and we're going to get on this train. Okay, but the Federal Reserve is centralized still. So they can still pass that money to however they want to and distribute it. It's not, there's still a central location. Does this making sense about this? Like,
yeah.
So this is where people get hung up on that. Like the Fed is coming in, they're basically doing like a digital coin where it's not centralized, or it's not decentralized though. So the scare tactic of it is that they'll be able to distribute all the funds that they want into into your account. So it's kind of creating like, there is no barrier. They can monitor everything you're doing. There's a lot of scariness about it because it's not decentralized. So when the Fed says they're coming out with a digital coin, it's not what we think of as cryptocurrency. It's the older generation trying to see if they can grasp this, but they're still not understanding it because they still are focused on there needs to be a central entity to monitor all this. Is this making sense about the digital?
Yeah. I mean, it's like the IRS. The IRS puts their finger in everything because they can, and they have the ability to.
And that's all it is basically they want to have, I need to say this too. I'm not for nor against crypto. I'm like a messenger in a way where it's like understanding it and trying to take a bigger picture of it for people to understand, like critically think about this, like I'm presenting the information. I want them to understand that like, I'm not telling you that it's bad that the Fed is creating it or it's good. I'm just simply stating if the Fed creates a digital coin, it's going to be centralized still because they won't release a decentralized network. We already have that. That's Bitcoin. So they want control over it still. So the Fed releasing a coin, it's still years away because they're still figuring out how to do all this stuff. Even like Janet Yellen still doesn't even really understand how crypto works. You hear all the congressmen and senators talk about just with the Russia stuff, like they don't understand how cryptocurrencies function. So we're still a few years away from them actually creating it. They're just honestly talking about it right now, where it's like they're trying to figure out how would they do this on a massive scale. So it's not really decentralized. If you like, because it's the Federal Reserve is still going to be the central point to releasing all the money. If you get what I'm saying, like.
So, but couldn't they pump it as far as like pump their numbers up and just fund it?
Still, that's what they do currently, isn't it? Whenever they want
with the current dollar, yeah.
It's the same thing. It's just a digital dollar. Like there's a difference between stable coins. So stable coins like Tether is connected to the US dollar, as in it's pegged ratio wise. Like, so if the dollar goes up in value, Tether is a cryptocurrency that will go up the same amount. Vice versa. If it goes down, Tether's and Tether's just a cryptocurrency. It's a digital token. But that's different than what the Fed is talking about doing, because Tether is still decentralized.
There are Neanderthals trying to come into this, trying to figure it out.
Yes. And I'm not picking on any generation.
That makes more sense, because I'm like, if Tether's the, I'm like, okay.
And there's already, just so you know, like I just out of for fun, like I traded for $1 of the US digital coin. There's a USDC. You can get them on Coinbase. It's not technically a digital dollar. Like it's not but it's a US digital coin. And it's like, this is dumb. This is just the same thing as going to the grocery store and swiping your debit card. Like this is where it gets really complex, because people think it's digital, that it like functions like cryptocurrency, and it's not. So
I mean, the dollar you have in your bank account is fake, because as soon as you put it in, they take it out and fractional lend it through the bank. So do you really have dollars in there?
It's all, and that's a good point. So Bitcoin, blockchain. This is why I love blockchain. Blockchain to me is the best thing about cryptocurrency. It's like the actual bread and butter of everything.
Yeah.
So blockchain allows a digital ledger for Bitcoin, because and I'm using Bitcoin just as an example, but Bitcoin is one of those coins. There's only going to be 21 million ever mined out, basically being like, there's massive, like big, powerful computers that mine these coins. So like Bitcoin, they solve these complex algorithms, and as a prize, they release the cryptocurrency, which we'll use Bitcoin as an example. So they use these big algorithms and they mine out a coin. There's only ever going to be 21 million of those. And they always get like halved after 4 years. It's like, there's like they get halved. They call it a halving event. And it basically means that less Bitcoin are getting circulated until the 21 million. I forget what year it's going to be. It's like, it's a far ways off, but basically we're not even like, there's still a couple more million that need to be mined out. Once those 21 million are mined out of Bitcoin, that's it. So that drives up the price, where, like you just said, with the dollar, the Federal Reserve, they can just issue out as much as they want. There's no digital ledger like the blockchain does for Bitcoin. Like that's what keeps it like kosher with everybody, because you can't manipulate or overspend or double spend. That's the biggest thing about Bitcoin, is you can't double spend it, which we all know with the dollar, like you said, like they can just spread it and fund it, and then they can take it out. And that's kind of the scare part of the Federal Reserve creating a digital token or digital coin, is they can grab it whenever they want to, they can distribute it out however they want to. But that also causes inflation, deflation, all this stuff that causes trouble with the economy. I'm not trying to go into economics, but it's just trying to explain it in a way
they're putting a Band-Aid on an issue they can't fix.
Yes, exactly. Yeah,
because they're centralized as an entity itself. So anything that is centralized is all going to be subject to inflation.
Yep.
The show is sponsored by The List Guys. Do you need more leads in your local or virtual market? 1 in 10 small businesses don't invest in any kind of marketing. The List Guys have over 35 plus list types to choose from, and you can mix and match any list or criteria. We also use the skip trace list and provide up to 7 numbers and email addresses. Every list you purchase will be scrubbed against previous purchases. The List Guys are here to save you time. Contact the List Guys today at www.onelistguys.com. That's www.1listguys.com.
Bingo. And it's still fiat, whether we like it or not. It's fiat currency is government-backed fund money. Like that's what fiat currency is. It's not on the gold reserve. The gold reserve was removed in the 70s from Nixon, and there's just a bunch with that Federal Reserve coin. That's all. It's like, it's not decentralized. So for me, it's like, it's not even really a threat. It's kind of like a threat to people who don't really, to the older generation that still think the younger generation is going to buy into it. And that's, having a kid, I already know, I can see it with my daughter. Like, they're going that way of digital. It's going to be that way, so
I kind of want to talk about economics because I watched a video about this recently with Russia, with Russia's ruble dropping down so much. The Russian bank, they had billions and billions of dollars and euros and all this other money to exchange for rubles to keep it balanced as far as not letting inflation take effect. And I'm like, I never understood that part of economics. So I watched that video because like once their assets got froze by Switzerland, they couldn't even use that money to balance out their ruble. And that's why it tanked down to nothing. It's crazy to think that millions and millions of people are affected by the banks and how they control the economics of it.
Yeah. Well, and to piggyback off that, like this kind of made me not mad, but like just you're exactly right. When that tanked, they were saying how Russia was buying into all these cryptocurrencies. So a lot of congressmen were like, we need to put the kibosh on crypto. We need to put all these restrictions on it. Well, the joke, like, again, they don't understand is you can try restricting crypto, but it's not going to work. Like, that's the point of it. You can't restrict it. Like, so they were trying to restrict it while Ukraine is using it to get like donation funding. So there's good positives coming out of it. But they were basically saying like Russia was going to invest all their money into cryptocurrency. Russia's going to put their money into the Chinese dollar, their digital coin, if they're going to do anything. Yeah, that's where they're going to go with their money because it's a centralized bank. They're not going to go into cryptocurrency because it's so volatile. Like it's just extremely volatile. Why would they could lose their tails off with investing in anything if they weren't smart with it.
I mean, once they put it in crypto, it's now in the world's hands.
Yes, that's exactly it. And why would they like world leaders? We're in America. We know our world leaders on both sides are like not the brightest bulbs in the bunch. So like there's a lot of chaos that would happen. You're exactly right. That's why they would have put it into Chinese because the Chinese have a digital centralized coin. But it's not decentralized, it's centralized. And that's exactly what the United States coin would be like. So when the United States said, we're going to go, we should, the congressmen and senators who don't understand it, we're like, we need to restrict this on, these platforms and stuff like that. It's like, you can't do that because that's not possible. Like, but then the Ukrainians were using it to get donations, which is like, that's a positive out of it, that they were able to transfer funds securely, easily, and no middleman, quickly, and that's what the Federal Reserve doesn't like because it eliminates the middleman.
What I like about this is that we kind of like switched different ages, and like the industrial age was everything was mechanical and the assembly line and all this stuff, and it kind of went to the digital age. But now I feel like I heard it many times, it's the creator economy. It puts all of it back on us as creators versus into the distributors that like Google and Facebook and all this stuff, which is like the early 2000s that they had control over all that stuff because they were well funded. Where now crypto kind of takes it back into the community's hands, the people, to kind of create their own possibilities.
That's just really quickly too, to piggyback. Like I use this because as a musician, Ticketmaster is one of the worst entities in the world to me. And blockchain, like I still wish people like Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos, and I don't like either of them just because of my own preferences, but if a guy with a lot of money would actually see the benefit of this and say like, this could completely overhaul the industry. You're talking venues could direct distribute tickets to concert goers, or not even artists could directly put tickets in people's hands. It would completely eliminate the fraud behind it because it's blockchain and it's encrypted and those tickets can't be duplicated. It would eliminate ticketing fees. Like there's so many things that would benefit from people understanding the overall concept of cryptocurrency, but like blockchain itself that's why I get passionate about it because it's not a utopia, but it's a step in the right direction of exactly that, eliminating the middleman pricing fees of stuff that doesn't need to be there. And I think that's exactly, so Ticketmaster is my example of that, where it would eliminate Ticketmaster. And I think that's the beauty of it. Sorry, I didn't mean to go off on a tangent.
No. I have my own one that I always make fun of. I always tweet this out a lot. Is that I tweet it like every once in a while. Every time somebody talks about PayPal, I'm like, defund PayPal.
Yeah.
Yeah, always like, because like PayPal is the worst. Like I hear so many horror stories of PayPal holding your money and doing all this stuff, and I'm like, cryptocurrency is going to fix that. PayPal is going to feel it.
I absolutely agree with you. Absolutely.
They're not going to like it, but it's going to be for the better. Like you got to adapt and change, and things are changing quickly. So you better hold on to PayPal because.
Well, I don't like being generational about it, but to me, in my opinion, that's the older generation refusing to let go or allowing progress to be made where it needs to be made. And the financial industry itself is so rigged. There's just so many problems with it. And this allows us to step in the right direction of giving that freedom to people. It's also like accountability. Like, yeah. I think that's the biggest takeaway for me is like people are so afraid to be held accountable, but that should say something about society as itself. And not to get deep with it, but that's where cryptocurrency really, for me, thrives with it, because it's like you have to be accountable for your money, and you should be. Like, that's the benefit of this is, again, critically thinking, like you should be accountable for your money. If you can't be, then, and then maybe that scares people, but it's like, it shouldn't. It should wake you up a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. You can't always trust the government, because just like I really feel bad for Russians in this, because they're really feeling the blunt effects of their leaders' decisions in the real world, and dealing with the effects of it, where they lost 30-40% of their savings overnight. That's just gone.
Well, and that goes, again, you're exactly right. And when they're trying to put restrictions on the crypto, you're not hurting the Russian government. You're hurting the people of Russia who could transfer the funds into a cryptocurrency like Bitcoin, something that's more stable. And not that it's not volatile, but it's like you're hurting the people rather than the government itself. You're exactly right. It's crazy to me, but I didn't mean to go off on a tangent either. I'm really sorry about that.
No. I don't know. It's a thing that's going on right now with the Russian-Ukraine stuff, and you seeing the ruble drop down to nothing.
Yeah,
it kind of really shows what could happen, and things that you may not even think about that you need to be prepared for. And it's taking control of your money, like you said. That's huge. Taking control of your own responsibility, your own assets, and making sure that you understand what's all entailed. You know, and I think it's the whole point of having this conversation, that people understand the basics.
Yeah. Well, and that's the reason I started the podcast, was like, I'm a huge fan of Mr. Rogers. And that to me was like, how can I at least, because you said it earlier in the podcast, you're like, we are in the beginning of this. This isn't even, and this is not going away. This is the beginning of this new financial market, this new financial industry. And people have to understand. You can be stubborn and not learn about it, but you have the opportunity right now to learn and figure it out. And because later on, it's just going to get more and more complex. At least have a good understanding or base of it, a basic foundation of it. You don't have to invest in it, but understand what it is. That's my big thing. But
so let's talk about recommendations. So if they wanted to get a cold storage wallet, we talk about exchanges briefly. Beginners should Coinbase. If they want to use a cold storage, what's a good cold storage recommendation?
Yeah. Me and my buddies all use like like Ledger is the name of the brand. Nano Ledgers. Those are really good, really easy, simple user interface. Because basically once you connect it to your computer, like I can still see on my computer my quantity that's on there, but it's not connected. So if somebody hacks my computer, they're not getting my cryptocurrency because it's not connected. But that online ledger thing kind of shows me how much is in my crypto at the moment. Now, once I connect it back on, my keys are on my cold storage, my Nano. So once I plug those in, if that stays plugged in and somebody hacks me, then that's, I'm losing it because of having it connected. But the Nano Ledgers, their interfaces are awesome. And their software that they do for the computers, super straightforward, really easy. And I say that as I'm an idiot, like I'm pretty dumb. If I can figure it out and see the simplicity of it, then that means it's really, really good interface, in my opinion. So I really like the Nano Ledgers.
one thing I struggled with personally was they give you that QR code for your wallet.
Yeah.
And I'm
yes.
I think I lost mine. So I don't know how much money I have on it, but I lost it.
Well, did you have to write down? Because that's the thing. Like, did you write down your keys and stuff like that to access it?
I think I did. I have it in my computer somewhere. It's just I have to find it now. It's just one of those things. And keep it with your important documents.
That's what I do. Yes. Mine's in a safe. Yeah. Mine's in a fireproof safe. And I look at it as it could go to zero. Like my cryptocurrency could go to zero. That's the other thing that newbies need to understand. The best advice any investor can give you, I'm not a guru. I'm not saying only put in what you're willing to lose. I cannot stress that enough. Do not put in your life savings into anything. Like that's why diversifying is so critical with all this stuff, and I don't ever give financial advice out, but the one thing I will say is do not put all your eggs into that, because it can go to crap and so to newbies, do a little bit at a time till you feel comfortable and then only what you're willing to lose. Because that's, I think, what people need to hear.
Yeah, that's interesting. So where can people find you online? What's your podcast called? What platforms are it on? What's your social media, all that good stuff?
Sure. It's Crypto 101 Show. It's on all major streaming platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Radio Public or whatever. Any Amazon podcast one, Pandora's, it's on there. I'm on Instagram, Facebook. I have to look up what my handles are because I think it's just Crypto 101 Show is most of the handles and stuff like that. If you go to the podcast and you find the episodes, the social links are all in there. I'm on Twitter. I don't really do a ton of interaction except for posting of new episodes and stuff like that, just because I don't like to especially with I'm an opinionated person, but when it comes to the crypto stuff, I really do my best to not persuade people either way. And that's even if you go and listen to the Federal Reserve one, I don't try to bash the Federal Reserve. It's more this is what this is what this is. These are the two sides of the spectrum. Here's the presentation. You decide what you think is good or bad about it. If people find the episodes or whatever, they'll go on there and they can find me on social media. I don't usually post a ton just because it's usually just general hey, this new episode's out, so go ahead and check it out. I think they get bombarded with too many opinions as it is anyway. So,
everybody has an opinion, but I like that you're unbiased. You try and be at least.
I try to. Yeah.
Oh, I appreciate that, man. Well, we appreciate you coming on, man. I hope people got some information on that and got the basics of crypto a little bit, understand a little bit more and the economic side of it. But we appreciate your time, Joseph. Thank you, man.
Oh, Daniel, thanks for having me, man. I really appreciate it. I'd love to do this again with you.
All right. Sounds good, man. Bye.
All right.